All right, hello.
Hi.
So everyone, this is Jess Siswick. She is a graphic designer and storyteller behind the key art for Ratatouille, the Tik Tok Musical, and the homemade Disney phenomenon from earlier in the pandemic. Jess, we're so excited that you came to talk to us. Thank you all for coming.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, us too. So how did you get started being creative?
Oh gosh, being creative. I'm going to take off the hat. This is not a good angle. When did I get started? I always tell the story that I have been holding a pencil since I was so young, and just drawing has always been one of my biggest passions. Ever since I saw The Little Mermaid when I was 2 years old, I wanted to emulate all things Disney and what they did. So I have been drawing. I mean, this will really age me. VHS covers is what I used to copy um, when I was young, and it just went from there. And then when I saw a show in London when I was 4 years old, it was Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. That's when I decided that was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to tell stories on a stage or be a Disney animator. There was no in between. It was either one of the two.
That's really cool. Yeah, I had a similar thing where it was like one experience kind of just shaped what I knew I had to do. Um,
Yeah.
that's how I wanted to be a Disney Imagineer for a while as well. Yeah. Um, so what are some of the inspirations for your work? I know you mentioned that you kind of got into it with Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat and all that kind of stuff, but what continues to inspire you to this day?
I think I try and consume as much uh, media as I can. Um, I love TV, film. I love watching video essays on YouTube. I've always been that kind of person that will come away from something amazing, either a movie, a play, a good piece of art, and instead of just leaving it at that was great, I would say that was great. How did they do it, and how can I do that? I know at age 11, there is a video of me recreating the whole of Star Wars shot for shot because I wanted to um, reverse engineer how they did it. So I attempted to do it myself. So I think is to one thing that I continually do is try to see all forms of storytelling, and how can I adapt that into my work and what I'm trying to communicate in whatever I'm doing.
That's really cool. So like, what would you say you kind of take from each thing that then you would kind of repurpose using what you've seen?
I think one example is I directed the show Footloose a few years ago, and in directing that, I really put my background in um, art and design into the way that I was directing. The way I would place people on stage would be to position them in a way that the old masters were doing painting, so that there was like a power dynamic in the way that you were positioning people on stage. I use color a lot to try and evoke emotion or to communicate something quickly to an audience. For example, in Footloose, the character Ren was the only character to wear red throughout the whole show. And as he began to influence the town, not only to influence them to dance, the characters, as they began to get to know Ren and side with Ren, started to introduce red into their wardrobe. And then at the end, in the whole dance sequence, everybody's wearing red. So it's a way of using color theory that I've learned from studying animation to put that into the stage to help tell the story and to help the audience quickly pick up what's going on subconsciously, because they were all used to color playing a big part in the way we feel emotion and what we're trying to convey. So I put that into what I was directing.
Oh, wow, that's really cool. So like kind of just drawing from the color and using that as symbolism and everything.
Hmm.
That's really interesting. Yeah. I know guys in the club we're gonna talk about that for our lighting unit as well. But yeah, that's really interesting. So what was it like trying to enter the industry as a creative professional?
Unfortunately, I entered the industry during the first Great Recession of these recent years. Um, but I think one thing that I was very adamant at doing in my professional career was to always accept a job where I was doing something creative that helped me get on that rung to what I wanted to do. So I was a freelance graphic designer, I was a storyboard artist, character designer, um, just taking as much work as I could that would keep me creative. so I could add it to my resume and build up a portfolio that way.
Got it. So that even if it wasn't necessarily like your end goal, you still had something that kind of fed your creativity.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. So obviously you mentioned earlier that you started working in theater, but then switched to animation and visual art. What made you decide to change the way that you told stories and kind of make that switch? And how would you say that your theater background helped you with continuing to be creative in a different field?
I would say my decision to choose visual art and animation over theater was when I was looking to study theater. I wanted to be on the stage and an actor, but it is a very risky career. It's a very not a lot of success rate, and I realized with animation I was doing the same thing, but you're acting through a pencil, you're acting through art and through design. So I pursued that career instead. And today, I mean, I don't work in animation. I am a digital content specialist for a medical journal. So I run a lot of social media and communications. But I gave a talk a few months ago about communicating with social media and being more creative on social media. And one of my slides was all about everything I learned in theater and how that helps me become a better communicator. Because what you learn in theater is essential soft skills for life. You learn to collaborate, you learn to cooperate, you learn to build on each other. And that is exactly what you need in communication. Everything that you learn in improv to yes, and that's how the whole Ratatouille musical came about. It was people saying, I like what you did, and I'm going to add this onto that. And it was just something incredible that happened because of these soft skills that you learn in theater. And another thing in communication is that especially in theatre, you have such a short amount of time to grab your audience. I always say to people when I'm directing, the audience are idiots. So you have to be as clear and precise as possible with your audience. And that is especially true for social media and communication online. I have this post-it note that I keep by my desk, and it says, for sale, baby shoes never worn. That's an entire story told in 6 words. And that is the same as I learned in theatre. You have to get to the point, one point, and keep your audience honed in on one thing. And that's whether you choose to hone your audience in with lighting, with staging. You know the one point you want to get across, and you learn how to direct an audience eye to that. And that's something that you can take into communicating in different professions as well.
Oh, wow. So just kind of being able to communicate things in a more concise manner.
Yeah, and the theatre will prepare you to do that.
Yeah, it's interesting because you don't really think about theater as being like a concise thing since shows are long and so much goes into them. But yeah, you're absolutely right. So do you have any advice for people that might want to move into creative industries outside of theater? So I know many of our people are in technical theater right now learning these skills. Where would you suggest that they kind of bring them elsewhere?
I think that communication is a big thing, especially online communication at the moment. And virtually communicating is all we can really do right now. And I think people who have these skills that they've learned in theatre can definitely apply that to other fields such as social media. Especially if you're interested in lighting and set design, you can move into more graphic design with that because you're learning color theory, you're learning ways to draw the eye, and these have certainly helped me in my career, is learning all these things. So my advice would be, hmm, I, hmm, I would say that I'm a jack of all trades, and certainly putting several caps on, whether working in high school or community theatre, has really helped me uh, be a person that isn't afraid to try new things. Um, so I would say if there's something that you have an interest in, which you don't necessarily have the skills for, is just try some new things with the skills you already have, and you will see that you have a lot already that adds up to that. I don't think that really made a lot of sense, and I kind of contradicted myself by being concise, but I hope that helps.
So you did mention trying new things. Where would you suggest trying to look for the opportunities to try new things and like go into different areas and learn new skills? Where have you found opportunities in the past, and where should we go to find them?
I think I found opportunity by certainly on social media. I downloaded TikTok in late September, and it was just it's a brand new way of communicating, and it's a brand new way of sharing a story. And I really think like trying new things, if um, you have a great communication device right here in your hand, um, making movies, communicating something. If you have a story you need to tell, you can create a whole movie on your phone. Um, so I would recommend just trying a new way of, maybe it's a social media app, maybe it's a new way of communicating, either film or writing. Um, Try it out and let's see what happens. Sorry, that wasn't a very good answer either. I'm so sorry.
I mean, I have to say, I am also quite glad that you got on social media because I am a big fan of all that you've done on there. Um,
Oh, thank you.
so what got you into making playbills and art specifically for shows? Did you kind of like come back around into theater after you had left theater and gone into visual art, or like how did that come about?
I was part of a musical theatre society when I was in college, and they just needed somebody to make the poster. And I, again, wanting to try new things and saying, well, I do visual art, so let me have a go at this. And I did. And I really enjoy making posters and trying to communicate one idea in one single image to entice people to come see your show. And it just kind of stuck. Every time I auditioned for any community theatre, I would either look at the poster and go, oh no, let me do it, or I would be asked to do it. And I built up this portfolio of poster and playbill designs.
So what kinds of things do you look at when you are designing a poster, and how do you make sure that the poster conveys the idea that you're trying to get across?
Oh, that is a very good question. I think what I try to do is I try to, especially if it's something um, familiar, like I did a poster design for High School Musical. So I looked at what I had available to me at the time. So I didn't have any actors, we didn't have anyone cast yet. So I couldn't use people in the poster design. They wanted it to feel epic. They wanted it to feel like a movie. So I knew I wanted to use either photography or something like that. And then I looked to the original poster. Is especially if you're doing something familiar and not an original piece, it's all about what your brief is from the people and what you want to convey. So with High School Musical, I wanted it to feel epic. I didn't have actors. I wanted it to feel like a movie, but different but similar to the original movie poster. So the original movie poster is the kids famously jumping with the High School Musical sign behind. So what I took from that was the color red is used so much in High School Musical. It's the school colors. It's the red curtains in the back of the poster. So I knew that red was going to be my prominent color. And then I thought, what could visually convey high school? Lockers. So I had lockers in the background, red lockers. And when I designed the logo, I wanted to keep it similar to the original logo. So I used the um, the lights lighting up the logo. And then to add some kind of interest to it, I added shadows of people that I got from a stock photo and then put those on. So that when I'm trying to design it, I'm trying to fulfill a brief. Like with Ratatouille, I wanted it to have an homage to the original TikTok that started it all, Remy, the Ratatouille, the rat of all our dreams. So I literally made Remy the Ratatouille. I just wanted it to be one single image. The original image actually was it on a plate, but I thought that was too busy visually, so I ended up putting him on a fork in the background, and that was just visually capturing the original TikTok and paying homage to that. So I try and think what can catch the eye So with the rat being the Ratatouille, like people often have second looks at it because they don't see it at first. So it has that interest, catches the eye, explains what it is, has something, a sense of familiar but different. That's what I try and convey when I'm making these playbills and posters.
Oh, that's really cool. So speaking of Ratatouille the musical, how did you get involved with them and kind of work your way into working with them?
I actually discovered, I was talking to Daniel the other night. We were all comparing dates of when we were called, and I was called first by a so I can hold that. I was called first by a marketing company who said, we've literally got off the phone with Disney Theatrics and the production company. We've got the green light. We'd love you to contribute your art and to be part of this. And I said, yes, yeah, I'll do it. And the next few days were a bit of a whirlwind. I was in lots of meetings about my playbill art, making some animations to go in the video, pitching some video ideas for the original video that came out. They didn't go with a few of my more creative ideas. They went with something generic in the end, and I was working with a voiceover artist to come up with the script. And so I was working really hard after my job to get all this Ratatouille stuff ready, and also keeping quiet that it was happening. And then it all was announced about a week later.
Wow. So just kind of taking all of that and moving a little bit further into Ratatouille, what was the creative process behind that, and how was it working with all of the different people that had come together from completely different backgrounds to kind of make this one specific show?
I would say that I wasn't really involved in the making of the show as much as I really should have been, but we have a group chat with all the TikTok creators who were involved in Ratatouille, so we had this whole shared experience together, and we still have this group chat going on now. And I think what was really great about it is like connecting all these people like across the globe to make something. And I know that Daniel worked so hard and he did all the orchestrations and things, and I know that Gabby worked on some of her orchestrations. And it was just amazing to see it all unfold and happen, and to have that encore again on Sunday was really incredible.
That's amazing. So going into some other things that you've done on social media, why did you choose earlier in the pandemic to channel your creativity into homemade Disney?
So Homemade Disney came about because I was meant to go to Disney World the week that they announced it was closing. I managed to convince my job to send me to a conference at Disney World. I swindled them, and they allowed me to go to this conference. And then we got because we're a medical journal, they were very aware of the pandemic happening, and all the doctors were on a travel ban. So they put a travel ban on my work as well, and they said, like, I'm sorry, you can't go to this conference. But they did have an online option, so I was going to attend this Disney conference online, and I was just very determined to get the full conference experience. So I decided to recreate everything from my bedroom, and it just took off because a day afterwards they announced Disney was closing, and then nobody was going to Disney. And I think to recreate these rides by myself in my room, and to recreate this whole experience really resonated with people because we were all going through a shared experience, and it was something that everyone could relate to. And then when people started joining in, it was just so wonderful. And then you would like yes and on people. Like, one girl created Pirates of the Caribbean, and famously in Pirates of the Caribbean in Disneyland, there's the Blue Bayou restaurant. And so I decided to be waving to her through the Blue Bayou restaurant. And we created this kind of like little online Disney, this homemade Disney. And I think it's just a way of how can you express what you're feeling. I could have just sent a tweet saying, I'm sad that Disney is closed. But instead, I decided to express my sadness for it being closed in a more creative manner. Like, it's closed, but I'm going to recreate the experience at home by myself. And I think that really resonated with people. And it helped find little happiness in a time of such great confusion.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of my favorite things that I've seen on the internet ever. So speaking of homemade Disney, how would you describe your relationship with Disney and Disney parks and kind of that kind of thing? And how has that shaped your creative future?
Disney parks for me they have been my most cherished childhood vacations. Coming from the UK, we always went to Disney World because it was closer. So I'm very sorry to all you West Coast folks. But I will say that I do prefer Disneyland. I think what Disney parks does so well is that they really immerse you in storytelling. They create atmosphere, they theme things so well that you just forget where you are. I love like there's such attention to detail. Like there's a tree in New Orleans Square which covers the Matterhorn because it's shaped like that. And it's just because you want to feel like you're in New Orleans. And that's what's so great about the Disney parks. And it can especially be attributed to, you can put that into the way that you design for theater, is that you want to be immersed, and they immerse you in music, they immerse you in design, they immerse you in color, they immerse you in smells even. I'm sure that all of you that have been to Disney can close your eyes and imagine the Pirates of the Caribbean smell, and it will just evoke a memory and emotion. And that's what Disney does so well, is that they use every tool at their disposal to create lasting memories.
Wow, that's very well said. So we've talked a little bit about the pandemic and kind of how you've worked through that. How has the pandemic changed what you've done, what you do professionally, and how have you worked through those challenges?
I think one of the biggest things that has changed during the pandemic is that I'm now fully work from home. I used to go into an office every day and see some of my colleagues, but I now work from home fully. And I think, especially with my position at work, communication has been key. And like the way that you communicate with others has greatly changed. I use a lot more media than before. I use a lot more emojis than I did before, because the time for being overly formal is gone. I am like, the generations above me find that very difficult, and always want to be overly formal on social media. But the way it's really changed the way I communicate online. You'd think that a medical journal would be very stuffy, but I found ways to create engaging content, and I think that has come from this pandemic, is using what you have around you. I've always said that creativity thrives in limitation, and with being confined to my home, it really made me try and think, how can I communicate effectively using what I have around me? I've made several videos on our medical journal page just using post-it notes in my closet to get things across. And I think that there's been real innovation. And I think that going forward, I hope that these new innovative ways to communicate can help us all come closer together.
Wow. Thank you so much. So before I pass it over to the audience to see if they have any questions, do you have any final tips, advice, things you want to share with everyone?
I would always say, I think one of my main takeaways would be, if you have an idea, an original idea that you want, in a way that you want to convey something, really think about 3 different ways that you can do it. Really try and experiment with how you can communicate. Can you do it written? If it's written, what can you add to it that you can only do visually? And what can you do visually that you couldn't do like with audio? Like there are different ways that you can communicate that, and they each have their strength. The visuals have their strength, written text has their strength, moving visuals, video has its strength. And by using one way of communicating, like one thing that you want to communicate it, and try it in the different things, you can think of new creative ways of how to say that.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much for for coming to talk to
Oh,
us.
thank you.
Mandy, I will pass it over to you so that you can ask any questions the audience has. Audience, just put the questions that you have into the chat.
Ooh,
Mandy, I
I'm
think you
having
have.
I'm having a hard time hearing you, Mandy. Oh no.
Okay. Mandy, if you want to leave the meeting and try and come back, I will let you back in and we'll see if that can fix it.
Here, I'll show you what I'm working on at the moment whilst you wait.
Oh, sure.
So, for those of you on TikTok, have you seen the woodchuck rebellion that's going on? So all of us in the Ratatouille group chat have decided we want to make this a musical, and I'm working on the poster design right now. So this is like the Hunger Games hand with a woodchuck in it,
Oh,
and
wow.
there are some great songs already, and we're going to take over the woodchuck rebellion TikTok with our musical.
It's very cool to be able to see that, like, kind of in the works. I'm looking forward. Mandy, are you able to, like, try again? All right. Yeah, I don't think it's working for you, Mandy. I'm sorry. So I will ask you the questions from the chat. So Brian asks, he saw the Batboy design on your Instagram. Did you work on Batboy? He loves the show.
I did. I also love the show. I did that when I was in college. I played Shelley Parker, and then I also did the poster design for that, which is one of my proudest posters that I made in college. It was a lot of fun to do. That's my friend jumping as the Batboy silhouette in there. Oh, it's such a great show. Great taste, Brian.
So Angie asks, how have the generations above you reacted to your new way of communicating, and did they respond positively to the video of Post-its?
Once they saw the stats that I gathered, they did respond positively. It's really interesting the way that I have kind of carved a niche for myself at work, because I've just always been innovating with the way we communicate. I think some of the generations above take a lot of convincing. I do work with a lot of older people at work, but through work, I did a podcast initiative. We have this brand new journal club that we're doing. I now take medical articles and we make infographics that we call visual abstracts that are like little bite-sized things from them. And I think when they're seeing how these are being received by our younger doctors and our younger audience, they are all aboard, but it takes some convincing. But usually, there's this quote that Florence Nightingale, a famous nurse in the UK, said once, which was "proceed until apprehended," and that's what I tend to do. Is I will just push through with an idea and just go and do it and be like, "Oh, look, see, look, it worked." Instead of trying to convince people, I think showing rather than telling is just a great way to get people on your side.
Cool, thank you. So Reina asks, how did you get into animation specifically? And how did that kind of move forward for you?
So I'd been illustrating and drawing since I was a child, and I had been doing a lot of life drawing, and it was mainly my love for Disney that I wanted to go and pursue and study animation, and did a lot of practice before I went in it. I've done 3D animation, I've done stop motion, but I found when I was studying animation, I lent more towards storyboard, like mapping out and honing in how we tell the story, and character design is where I landed towards the end of my study.
So I actually have a question about that as well. So in terms of character design, did you kind of start making your own characters, making stories for them individually, and then moving into some larger things as well with other collaborative people? Or
I will say how I began in character design was through fan art. I used to draw all the Les Mis characters because I am that much of a nerd. And it's really interesting. It's great to practice character design on something that already exists, because you've already got like this character fleshed out, and if you can communicate that and someone can recognize who it is, it really hones in your skills. And then I've gone into original stuff from there.
All right. So Alyssa wants to know if you have any tips on staying creatively motivated, and that says it's coming from an aspiring screenwriter.
Ooh, that is a good question, staying creatively motivated, because I have found I've experienced a lot of burnout last year, and as we go into this new year, which has been insane, it is very hard to keep that going. But I really think finding other people to bounce off has really helped me stay creative. Like, somebody has an idea, or you have a problem to solve. That's what I like, is having a problem to solve and then trying to creatively think out of that. That helps me keep my brain moving.
Great. And then our last question from the audience, Mandy asked, do you have any tips for show poster design, like specifically for theater? Because we obviously design our own posters for our shows as well.
I would say try and keep it as simple as possible. Try and keep things, you want a lot of, especially in theater posters, you want a lot of space to add your information. So you want to have one key visual, whether that's a visual logo, like the Ratatouille poster, or it's playing with the text. Let me actually show you some of my other designs. Let me just hold on one second. Oh gosh. Okay, hello. So yeah, this is the Bat Boy one. So this was a combination of text and logo that comes through there. Again, kept it very simple. Where's one of my, well, here's the High School Musical one that I was talking about. So some extra visual details that I have on here is I wanted to create like a rivalry. So you have all the drama club on this side, and then you have all the Go Wildcats on this side to create tension. So you're trying to just tell us a story through an image. So with this one, it was called The Foreigner. So I wanted to have it make him feel like he's in somewhere that he didn't need to be. So that's with his facial expression and everything around him being something where he's out of place. With Footloose, this was mainly a logo design. So I had the logo in the shape of the shoe, the color red being prominent as that was featured in the show. With this one, Hairspray, which was a very well-known poster, I wanted to adapt the logo a little. So the I is actually a little hairspray can, and the S is like a little bouffant. So I would say is pick one idea that you want to convey, and then choose how you want to do that, either through a logo, like a single image, or through the text. Don't try and complicate things.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming to talk to us.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
I know I really appreciated it. It was super fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.